Hey again, my friend. We want to finish up the book of Leviticus today. We're going through it and studying the chapter 24 through 27. As we've been studying, it's good to remember that this is the word for us. It's not just for Israel, it's for us as believers in Jesus, who's the Messiah who is prophesied in the scriptures. As we read the Old Testament especially, we've found over and over again him talking to us through the scriptures. And he goes through and tells us about the consequences of sin, the consequences of falling away from him and disobeying. Because remember, this is the Mosaic law. This is the commandment that it says, if you do these things, I will bless you. If you don't do these things, you'll get a curse. Because he basically gives the people over to themselves, over to the things that they think are going to be better than God. We have to trust him and follow his word because he knows best. He's God. He's bigger than us. He's bigger than our fears, our imaginations, our thoughts, our worries, our concerns. And he wants to take care of us if we trust him. And the people of Israel do eventually fall away from trusting him. They go back to pagan worship and pagan idols, and they get what's coming to them. And he promised them that he'd give them over to themselves and to the nations, and the fear that would come upon them. And it says in chapter 23, verse 15, don't blaspheme the Lord, don't curse God, don't cause blasphemy. Jesus was crucified because the people of Israel saw him calling himself God. They said, this guy is calling himself God. We cannot tolerate that. So they put him on the cross. And he is God. And he was fulfilling, that's all written down long before, this is how it's going to happen. If you need to stone this such and such person, if they do these things, injury for injury and all that. It's interesting. It's life for life. It's not just, it doesn't mean, it's compensation. It's all about insurance, right? It's about compensation for loss. It's about property losses. It's been so cold. This is feeling blah right now. It's been so cold outside. I cannot wait for spring. We can get outside and do some videos outside where it's not as cold out there. Chapter 25 is important for the law of the land and what God has told the people of Israel to do with the land and how it needs to have a Sabbath rest. We also read earlier that the people were not supposed to take all of the grain and all of the grapes, but to leave some for the widows and for the poor. And that comes into play later in the book of Ruth, when we read about Ruth going into the fields to collect the harvest that was left behind. She was told to be a worker. She went to go be a worker, and she, as a poor person in that community, could take what was left. And God provided in the law a provision for the poverty, for the poor, for the people who needed things. And it's important to carry that over to the church. I think we, as believers, should take care of the poor. Paul stresses that he, if anything, take care of the people. Take care of the people. In the book of Leviticus itself says, love your neighbor. Take care of him. If you see a donkey of your neighbor that you don't like is hurt, take care of the donkey. Help your neighbor out, even if you don't like your neighbor. It says it in Leviticus. Jesus makes points to that. He talks about that in the New Testament, but it's right here in the Old Testament too, because he is fulfilling it. He is saying this is all still good. You need to know this stuff. And this is good for us to know. It helps us to learn and to grow and to get closer to him as we grow closer to him. And the law of the land is also important in the book of Revelation. We get to the title deed of the earth in Revelation 5 and how God is coming back to take back the property, the land. And, I am the Lord. I read about that. In chapter 26 is promises for following the Lord. I'm going to take care of your lands. You're going to be fruitful. You're going to multiply. You're going to do really well. And then if you don't, Then chapter 27, of course, the value set on man and woman and sacrifices and the property and all that. And that basically covers the end of chapter 27 of Leviticus is over. It says, These are the commandments which the Lord commanded Moses from the sons of Israel on Mount Sinai. I know it's a lot of ground to cover, and we're going to get into Numbers next, which is not our favorite book around here. It's got a lot of numbers and information, but it's pretty fun once you get into it, and we are going to get into it as much as we can as we continue through the Bible this year. But it's important to me that I make the Bible open up in a new way. I love the Word. I love to read the Word. I love to talk about the Word to other people. And not just the passages that say, for God to love the world, He gave His only begotten Son, yes. But everything else that points to that too. You have the Feast of Israel, the Tabernacle, and the stories that are kind of fun. We'll get to some fun stories. Get to some fun things that are real. Real people, God's people, in real situations, dealing with real life. Because nobody is perfect. Even Joseph wasn't perfect. Daniel wasn't perfect. When you read about these guys, David especially, and we're going to talk about him a lot. It's my namesake, so yes, I'd love to talk about David. But, and it's important, I know, something that we are not called to be like somebody else. I struggle, as a guy who wants to be preaching in ministry, behind a pulpit, in churches. And this is where I'm at right now as I study to be an elementary school teacher, and I work toward my goals, but to also share the Word with you and enjoy reading it together and kind of getting reacquainted with things that we haven't gone over in a while. It's pretty good. It's very good. It's extremely good. But it's not just, we can't sit and you don't have to worry about being like somebody else. You don't have to worry about being as eloquent of a speaker as somebody else. And it's about just letting the Holy Spirit speak through you and letting God talk to you and share what He wants to share with you now. This is the time. And we've gone through Genesis, Exodus, and Leviticus. Now that's 3 books out of 66. We have 63 books left of the Bible to go. So it's be a very busy year, but it's going to be good. We're going to read a lot and study a lot and enjoy it together. It'll be fun. And I got to blow my duck call. Sorry. Got that for Christmas. But anyway. So keep studying, keep reading. As the book of Numbers approaches, you got some interesting things we're gonna unfold as we get into it. So enjoy studying and leave comments, feedback, and have a good day.